Hello there. So I've been thinking about why is it that horror is the cornerstone of most movie collectors? Like it's literally the genre that the most hardcore movie collectors who like buy physical forms of media, they have that they all have that in common. Uh, so I kind of want to delve into like what makes us humans so fascinated by this. So what comes to mind immediately was when I was thinking about this earlier. People like truth above all else, and there is there seems to be this sort of underbelly of society where you have a public persona, and then there is something kind of that doesn't want to be seen lurking underneath. Uh, so yeah, I think movies is a good medium to portray truth and show things through fiction that the real world would not want to do. Um, there, another thought that came to mind was that this society has you going through labor jobs or just uh, sort of bland, mundane experiences to avoid a dangerous life through like conveniences and whatnot. I think people are very attracted to danger or feeling like an animal with nature, uh, which is probably why they're into horror movies, because in a world where you could have a desk job or anything, we would prefer to be in a place that where our actions matter, places of consequence, where whatever you do might be whether you live or die. Another thought that came to mind earlier was that um, I think it was Leonardo da Vinci who actually he did some anatomy work to open up the body and discover what was inside the body, and was fascinated by it. Some people are very interested in what the body looks like on the insides. Again, the underbelly of the world. Some people are very interested in bodily horror. Me, not so much, but I have some friends who are. So again, all of these are different aspects of truth, seeing the world in ways that many people are afraid to look at. So there's like the artist lens too. For example, David Lynch, for many years before he was a filmmaker, and he has a lot of horror elements to his movies. They're not straight horror, but they are definitely horrific in most of them. He was a painter for years, so he did a lot of abstract paintings. He likes to see the world through an unusual lens to examine truth, and he even he does meditation practices regularly. He gets into like sort of a higher state of consciousness, even though he's exploring a lot of the horrors of the world. Now, that's not so much my disposition anymore. I have done what I call a lot of void digging, which I believe a lot of people who are into horror films, they are truth seekers, but yeah, they're looking at the void and trying to understand, why is all this stuff being hidden? How can we make sense of just absolute extremes of reality? Before I go further with that, I'm trying to nail all the points why people are into horror films. Another reason might be that it's easier to go through these extremes where you have consequence when you're at home and don't have to actually deal with the consequences. So you can still feel comfortable or even grateful for your life that you don't have. Maybe you connect with a character that is just like you, but they have a much more amplified version of it. And cinema works a lot better when you amplify themes to make it seem more consequential. So that was a thought too. There was one more. It's not coming to me right now. But yeah, the art lens is a thing. People are examining the void of things that are being hidden or not talked about or discussed, because many of these people who are interested in horror, we are kind of the underbelly of the world. We might be invisible to others. People who rail against the establishment. And what do I mean by establishment? The government and academia is shaped in a certain way so that it will never be taken down. What that does, it will ostracize people no matter what type of government or academia it is. And throughout different societies, the underbelly of the world looks very different, right? But I will point out that, like I have in many other videos, that hierarchy has a lot to do with why there isn't a harmony in the world, and why you have people who are considered the trash of the world, even though they themselves might have more of a clearer lens of what's really going on than a lot of people who just kind of go with the flow, right? So yeah, it makes sense that people who are more okay with alternative lifestyles and are more anti-censorship are going to be more fascinated with problems of the world that other people are afraid to look at. So my own disposition on this now is, like, I've always been kind of a fan of creepier movies more so than movies that are really focused so much on like bodily horror. Oh, I remember the last point. Some people really love special effects, and this also includes blood and making someone seem like they're near death or whatever. They get a thrill out of that. Not so much the final result is part of it, but just to go with your friends making a movie and like pretend, there's something almost comical about making your friend die on film, and you're all like making jokes while you're doing it. Some people really dig creating the illusion of something that there is no way, you couldn't do this in reality. So they kind of they get out their sort of perplexities about like wondering about weirdness of the world through illusion rather than going to reality and doing it, right? So a lot of people do this kind of stuff to kind of keep themselves sane or process their own emotional problems, and some people just want to be entertained, and that's what they find entertaining. So yeah, back to me, I like creepier things because I have felt a lot of very creepy things in this world much of my life, even when I was a kid, to the point where it was kind of my everyday reality. And I actually think most people are creepier than they realize. And what do I mean by creepy? A side to them that they want to hide from everyone else because they're not being honest with themselves about who they really are. So there's different flavors of creepiness. There's like the Rear Window movie, Hitchcock, where it very well illustrates that being a voyeur or just wanting to watch things in a way that you're supposed to not be allowed to watch. You can understand why anyone might be interested in this, because you're witnessing the world from a lens that you're either not supposed to, or you're witnessing life itself, maybe even as an artist, appreciating unusual circumstances, especially if you're finding most of your normal circumstances very boring. Especially if those circumstances don't really reflect your soul or your character or who you are. If you feel alone, at least maybe you would feel better being alone with a secret, or maybe even a gateway into the supernatural, or a gateway into the psychology of humanity, which links to the creator or whoever or whatever this giant life substance is, if you don't believe in a creator. So there's a lot of there's a lot of many things. Quentin Tarantino, I'm not a huge fan of his. I like his earlier films, and I find him more style over substance, and he writes really good dialogue. But he said that violence was literally made for cinema, and I don't necessarily agree with that, but I really understand why he's saying that, like, because it has to do with visuals. But for me, I because my channel, as its title, it's called Filmanity for now. I might change it later, but humanity in film, and I like to examine people as characters, like, and put them in fantastical scenarios that you may never find yourself in, only to discover more deeper about yourself that you couldn't have any other way. So fiction is a great vehicle for discovering more about humanity. And it's what I'm interested in. I think there's a way to do drama, essentially, which is what humanity is often. I think there's a drama way to do every single genre, like whether it's horror or comedy. And my favorite films are usually a weird mixture of what on earth is this. Like Donnie Darko is a good example. There's this movie called Memento Mori. I do like Mulholland Drive. I like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. There's a movie called Cashern. I like Amelie, Endless Poetry, Amarez Perez. There's a lot of them. I used to be into some Lars von Trier when I was younger, and as I got older, I'm not so much anymore. But yeah, people like examining different angles of life, and cinema reveals the human psyche, what is going on underneath. Yeah, so I guess that's all for now. Let me know what you think. Let me know why you watch horror or anything like that. I don't so much anymore. I generally like drama with maybe horror elements. I kind of like my movies. I have another channel called A Spectrum of Being, and I kind of like seeing most of the world through that lens, where if you give me too much doom, it gets homogenous. I like a spectrum of different emotions wrapped up into one experience. It makes you feel more alive and more real, and and in each of those instances, if you make, say, like a doomed feeling or someone might die, like, hit really hard there to illustrate a point, if you do that throughout the film, it waters it down. So yeah, same thing with comedy or romance or drama, but ultimately, I love discovering different people and different ways of existence. So yeah, that's all for now. Let me know what you think. Feel free to write something in the comments about your favorite films, or what is it about film that interests you the most. Yeah. All right. Have a good day or evening.